There comes a moment when life corners you, when every excuse feels justified, every fear feels real, and every reason to quit makes perfect sense. But that's exactly when destiny is watching. That's the split second where your future self is screaming at you. If you can't, you must. And if you must, you can, because what stops most people isn't the lack of ability, it's the lack of decision. You already have the strength, the fire, the potential buried inside. You just haven't demanded it yet. The truth is your mind lies to protect you, but your soul craves the fight. Every time you say, I can't, you're handing your power away. Every time you say, I must, you reclaim it. This isn't about motivation, it's about transformation. It's about crossing the invisible line where fear turns into fuel, hesitation turns into hunger, and the impossible becomes inevitable. This is the moment you stop negotiating with your limits. Because if you can't, you must. And once you decide you must, you absolutely can. Every life follows a pattern, habits, reactions, beliefs that play on repeat until we forget we even set them. The problem isn't that we have patterns, it's that we let them own us. Most people wake up every day and live the same emotional script, recycling yesterday's fears, yesterday's doubts, yesterday's excuses. They say they want change, but their body, their mind, their emotions, they're addicted to the familiar. And here's the truth. If you don't break the pattern will break you. You see, every man and woman has built an internal system for survival, not success. Men often hide behind the armor of control, pretending they're fine when they're crumbling inside. Women, on the other hand, internalize pain and turn it into responsibility, carrying everyone's load until they forget their own. Different strategies, same prison. Both are locked in patterns of protection, habits designed to keep them safe, but that also keep them stuck. The moment you recognize that your patterns were built for comfort, not growth, you realize that staying in them is the slowest form of self-destruction. Change doesn't start with what you want. It starts with what you're no longer willing to tolerate. You've got to reach that point where the pain of staying the same outweighs the fear of change. That's when real transformation begins, when you look at your life and say, enough. Men need to stop numbing the pain by pretending it doesn't exist, and women need to stop shrinking themselves to keep peace with everyone else. Because peace without purpose is just silence. You weren't built for silence. You were built for significance. Most people think patterns are broken through motivation. They're not. Patterns are shattered through awareness and massive action. You can't change what you won't confront. You've got to become conscious of your emotional triggers, the ones that make you lash out, shut down, or retreat. Every time you feel that pull to go back to the old version of yourself, that's your pattern trying to survive. But when you interrupt it, when you take a breath, shift your body, and choose a different action, you take your power back. Your brain learns fast when your body demands a new reality. Every man and woman has a threshold moment. It's the moment when they say, I'm done being this version of me. And it's not about perfection, it's about progress. Men must learn that strength isn't the absence of emotion, it's the mastery of it. Women must understand that nurturing others can never replace nurturing themselves. When both step into truth instead of illusion, when both take ownership instead of blame, their patterns lose control. That's where transformation begins, not in thought, but in decision. If you can't break the pattern, then you must. And if you must, then you can. Because the same mind that built your cage is the same mind that holds the key. The only question is, how long will you wait before you decide to turn it? Fear is not your enemy, it's your map. It's the signal pointing toward the very thing that will set you free. But most people misread it. They feel fear and pull back, thinking it's a warning to stop, when in reality, it's a message to move. Fear is not here to paralyze you, it's here to guide you. Every dream you've ever had lives on the other side of fear, yet most never reach it because they mistake discomfort for danger. The truth is, fear only becomes a cage when you let it decide how far you'll go. Every man and woman experiences fear differently, but its purpose is the same. It reveals where your growth is hiding. Men often fear failure because they tie their worth to performance. They fear not being enough, not providing, not winning. That fear drives them to control everything around them until they start losing control of themselves. Women, on the other hand, often fear rejection or judgment. They fear being misunderstood, unloved, or unseen. That fear pushes them to please, to shrink, to silence their own truth in order to feel safe. But both genders are playing the same game, avoiding the pain that fear brings instead of using the power that fear hides. You can't run from fear and find fulfillment at the same time. The moment you avoid fear, you also avoid growth. Fear is your internal GPS screaming, go there. It's the compass pointing you toward expansion. When you step into it, you discover that the danger you imagined was never real. It was your mind exaggerating the unknown. The human mind craves certainty, and fear is its way of keeping you in the familiar. But everything extraordinary lies outside that comfort zone. You'll never find power in the place where you feel safe. You find it in the place where your heart races, your voice shakes, and your legs tremble, yet you move forward anyway. When fear shows up, your body reacts first. The heart pounds, the stomach tightens, and your breath shortens. Most people interpret that as panic, but it's actually energy, raw power waiting to be directed. The same physiological response that fuels fear also fuels excitement. It's not the sensation that defines you, it's the meaning you attach to it. If you tell yourself you're afraid, your body retreats. If you tell yourself you're ready, your body advances. Men and women both have this power, but they rarely use it consciously. Once you learn to label fear as fuel instead of failure, you shift from being a prisoner to becoming a creator. Every time fear whispers, don't, it's pointing toward a breakthrough. Every time it tries to cage you, it's revealing the path that will free you. Fear is not a stop sign, it's a signal to pay attention. It's your invitation to rise higher than your excuses, to lean into the unknown, and to discover who you truly are when comfort is stripped away. Because fear isn't there to stop you, it's there to show you the way. The standard you hold for yourself determines the quality of your life. Most people live reacting to the expectations of others instead of rising to the potential within themselves. They settle, they justify, they negotiate with their greatness. But the truth is, you'll never outperform your own self-image. If you demand little from yourself, you'll live little. If you demand everything, you'll find out what you're truly made of. No one else can demand your best because no one else lives with the consequences of your choices like you do. Men and women both fall into the trap of seeking external validation. Men chase respect, women often chase approval. Men want to be seen as capable, strong, unshakable. Women want to be recognized, valued, and enough. But both lose power the moment they let the world define their worth. When you start living for applause, you hand your power to the crowd. The goal isn't to impress, it's to evolve. You must hold yourself to a standard that doesn't depend on anyone's permission. The day you stop asking, what will they think, and start asking, what do I expect from myself, that's the day you take ownership of your destiny. Self-demand is not self-punishment, it's self-respect. It's looking in the mirror and refusing to tolerate mediocrity in your energy, your habits, your relationships, your purpose. You can't call yourself committed and live like you're curious. You can't say you want more and keep doing the minimum. Men must stop confusing effort with effectiveness. Working hard is not the same as working aligned. Women must stop pouring everything into others while giving nothing back to their own dreams. When both step into a place of personal accountability, they stop competing with others and start competing with their potential. Raising your standards begins with small, ruthless honesty. Where are you pretending everything's fine when it's not? Where are you accepting comfort over challenge? Every area of your life is a reflection of what you've settled for. If your energy is low, your focus is scattered, or your results are inconsistent, it's because your standard allows it. You can't change what you're not willing to confront. The person who demands more from themselves doesn't wait for motivation. They create momentum. They don't wait for opportunity. They manufacture it through consistency and conviction. The truth is, the world mirrors back the energy you project. If you operate with discipline, intensity, and integrity, life will meet you at that level. If you operate with hesitation, excuses, and emotion-driven decisions, life will hand you mediocrity and call it normal. Every man and woman has an inner voice that says, I can do more. But only the ones who act on it rewrite their story. Demanding more from yourself isn't about chasing perfection. It's about honoring your potential. It's deciding that your standard will be the benchmark no one else can outmatch because you've chosen to lead yourself first. There is a moment in every person's life when should is no longer enough. I should work out, I should change my job, I should fix my relationship, but nothing transforms when it's still a should. The instant it becomes a must, your brain changes, your energy shifts, and your identity begins to rise. The word must has power because it eliminates negotiation. It shuts the door on excuses and forces you to find a way. Every breakthrough you've ever had started the moment you told yourself, this is no longer optional. That's the power of must. It's the line where average dies and greatness is born. Men and women both understand pressure, but they respond to it differently. Men often translate must into action. They push, they grind, they force results. But when that drive comes from fear instead of purpose, they burn out instead of breakthrough. Women often translate must into responsibility. They give, they serve, they carry the load. But when that giving comes from obligation instead of ownership, they lose themselves in the process. Both genders are driven by an inner need to matter, yet both can confuse movement with progress. The power of must doesn't mean doing more. It means deciding what truly matters and making it non-negotiable. The psychology of must rewires the mind. When you make something a must, you activate a level of resourcefulness you didn't know existed. You stop asking if and start asking how. Your mind becomes a problem-solving machine because it knows there's no other outcome. Think about it. When you absolutely have to pay the bills, you find a way. When your child is in danger, you move mountains. When your back's against the wall, you discover strength you never trained for. That same fire is always inside you. It just waits for the moment you stop giving yourself a way out. Every man and woman has a list of things they should do, but only a few ever convert those into musts. That's the defining line between an ordinary life and an extraordinary one. The average person waits for perfect timing, perfect feelings, perfect clarity. The extraordinary one decides that action comes first and clarity will follow. When you declare something as a must, you condition your nervous system for commitment. You no longer rely on emotions, you rely on standards. That's the shift that separates those who dream from those who deliver. Must is the death of excuses. It's the place where your identity is tested and your old story starts to crumble. Men must learn that true power doesn't come from dominance. It comes from direction. When their purpose becomes a must, their energy becomes magnetic. Women must learn that true strength isn't about sacrifice, it's about sovereignty. When their fulfillment becomes a must, their influence becomes unstoppable. Both need to understand that must isn't about pressure, it's about freedom. Because once something becomes a must, the weight of a decision disappears. The human spirit thrives when there's no plan B. When you decide that success, healing, growth, or love is a must. Not someday, not maybe, but now. You tap in the deepest form of power. That's when fear becomes fuel, failure becomes feedback, and effort turns into excellence. The must mindset doesn't ask for permission, it demands transformation. Because once you declare it, your world starts bending to meet the standard you've set, and that's where greatness begins to breathe. Your life will always reflect the standards you set, not the goals you talk about. People love to set goals, but standards are what define who you are when no one's watching. Standards shape your habits, your focus, your decisions. Excuses, on the other hand, are the language of limitation. They protect your comfort but poison your potential. Every time you choose an excuse, you lower your standard. Every time you raise your standard, you destroy an excuse. The difference between a life of struggle and a life of strength is an opportunity. It's the level you're willing to hold yourself to. Men and women both fall into the trap of rationalizing their limits. Men say, I'm doing my best, when deep down they know they're coasting. They disguise fear as logic and call it being realistic. Women say, I don't have time, when what they really mean is, I've made everyone else's needs more important than my own. Both create stories that justify staying where they are instead of demanding more from themselves. The mind is clever. It will always find a reason to keep you safe. But safety isn't the goal. Growth is. And growth demands you raise the bar on what you accept, tolerate, and believe about yourself. Raising your standards is not about achieving more. It's about becoming more. It's the moment you look at your life and refuse to live below your potential. You stop negotiating with your excuses and start aligning with your excellence. Men must learn that strength is not about avoiding weakness. It's about facing it head on and transforming it. Women must realize that worth is not earned by sacrifice. It's revealed through self-respect. When both start operating from a place of ownership instead of obligation, their excuses lose power and their energy shifts from surviving to thriving. The truth is, your standards teach the world how to treat you. If you accept mediocrity, life will give you mediocrity. If you demand greatness, life will rise to meet that demand. Every relationship, every opportunity, every result mirrors what you've decided to settle for. Excuses tell you that you can't, shouldn't, or don't have time. Standards tell you to find a way. Make the time and keep the promise you made to yourself. It's not about perfection, it's about progress. The more you raise your internal bar, the less you need external validation. Excuses feel comfortable because they remove responsibility, but they also remove power. Standards feel heavy at first because they require discipline, but they awaken confidence, clarity, and momentum. The moment you choose to raise your standards, your excuses become irrelevant. Men step into leadership instead of lethargy. Women step into power instead of pressure. And together, they stop living reactively and start living intentionally. Because the quality of your life doesn't rise with your dreams, it rises with your standards. Comfort is the slowest killer of potential. The fire you fear is the very thing that forges who you're meant to become. Every man and woman has a breaking point, but inside that breaking point lies a breakthrough waiting to be claimed. Most people spend their lives avoiding the heat, avoiding failure, rejection, risk, and vulnerability. They want transformation without tension, growth without discomfort, success without sacrifice. But it doesn't work that way. The fire you run from is the fire that was meant to refine you. You can't become unshakable if life never shakes you. Every man and woman carries their own version of the fire. For men, it's the pressure to perform, to protect, to provide, even when they feel like they're running on fumes. They fear showing weakness because they've been taught that strength means silence. So they bury their emotions under work, distraction, and control, convincing themselves they're fine while quietly burning out inside. For women, the fire often looks like the weight of expectation. To nurture, to hold everything together, to be everything for everyone, they fear letting go because they've been conditioned to equate self-care with selfishness. Both genders face the same truth. The moment you stop avoiding the fire and start walking through it, the person you were meant to be begins to emerge. Growth doesn't happen in the comfort zone. It happens in the chaos. You can't find your courage by thinking about it. You find it by facing what scares you. The fire strips away everything false, the excuses, the masks, the stories you've been telling yourself about who you are and what you can't do. It burns down your limitations so your truth can stand tall. When you're willing to step into what terrifies you, you discover a version of yourself that fear was hiding. That's where confidence is born, not from success, but from surviving what you thought would break you. The human mind is designed to seek safety, but the human spirit is designed to seek expansion. That's the internal war everyone faces. Your mind whispers, stay here, it's safe, while your soul screams, go further, you're not done. The fire is that battlefield. Men must learn that courage isn't the absence of fear, it's action in spite of it. Women must realize that vulnerability isn't weakness, it's the gateway to authenticity. When both surrender their need for control and step into uncertainty, they tap into a force more powerful than logic conviction. Conviction doesn't come from comfort, it's born in the fire. You don't grow stronger by avoiding pain, you grow stronger by giving it purpose. The fire is where your excuses melt and your essence takes shape. It's where your I can't becomes I must, and your I must becomes I did. The fire will challenge your identity, question your beliefs, and test your will, but that's how you evolve. Men must let go of the illusion that they need to have it all together. Their real power shows when they face uncertainty with courage instead of control. Women must stop waiting for permission to rise. Their real strength shows when they trust their voice even when it shakes. The fire doesn't destroy the real you, it reveals it. Everything you want, clarity, power, peace, purpose, exists on the other side of discomfort. The fire doesn't just build resilience, it burns away what no longer serves you. You stop being who you think you're supposed to be and start becoming who you were born to be. The fire isn't your punishment, it's your initiation. It's a place where comfort ends and creation begins, where the old version of you is tested and the new one takes command. The moment you step into it, something awakens, a strength that was always there, waiting for you to stop running and finally walk through the flames.